Yesterday, Bonginkosi Khanyile managed to hold a meeting with government officials after spending a night outside the union buildings in a bid to attract the president's attention to his case. Khanyile travelled to Pretoria this week to seek a presidential pardon after his conviction by the Durban Regional Court for public violence in possession of explosives, assault and inciting violence early this month. Bonginkosi Khanyile, who is out on bail, is a fees-must-fall activist and has come to join us in studio. Good to see you. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, thank you.
So I believe that you've now spent your second night sleeping outside of Parliament.
Yes, yes.
I'm not Parliament, I beg your pardon, the union buildings.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so any response? Have you had anything yet? We're saying you've had meetings, but have you had meetings?
Yeah, we have had some meeting with some government officials, but we have not met the president.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your plan is not to leave until you hear from the president in one form or the other?
Yeah, because we're planning that at least he comes and tells us that all of us were pardoned. Even if he doesn't come himself physically, if he can just send an email or send a government official or just say it through media in any form, then will my mother and the brother that I came with from KZN will go back to KZN.
I was reading a report, and perhaps you can correct me on this, from the presidential spokesperson who was saying that you're aiming this in the wrong direction. You should rather be going to the Department of Justice. You need to approach them, not the presidency. Did they come out and communicate this to you?
Yes, they did say something along those lines. But we are saying we're not aiming at a wrong office, because it's only the president that can pardon us. This time around, of course, working with all structures which are there, including the justice system. While saying the president must go engage all structures and say, no, I'm willing to pardon them. And I'm sure Chief Justice Mogoeng, I don't think that he has appetite for us to be destroyed. I'm very confident. If he can approach his office, there can be something and a solution to all of us which are actually attending cases and those who are convicted.
Yeah. Now, your greatest concern is your future, because now having a criminal record, and of course you still have to be sentenced, you don't know how long you have to spend time in jail for, in prison for, this is going to be a very big problem for you. So talk to me about your intentions of getting a presidential pardon.
Yeah, remember, it's not only me.
Yeah.
I've spent almost 6 months in prison. I have experienced, it's not nice. While speaking, there is a guy by the name of Khakesh who's convicted for 5 years for feesmustfall. Other guys, Amla is serving house arrest 12 months. And I'm also found guilty by the court of law on the 16th of October. I must be sentenced. And only God knows what would be my sentence. So the period between being found guilty and the sentencing is a very devastating one. In fact, it's the one that has also pushed me to come and say, perhaps if we sleep outside of your offices, you are going to get the message that we are under frustration, we are under serious suffocation, and we need you to intervene and ensure that you are set free. Because we believe that whatever has happened under a political situation, and it needs a political intervention. But we have seen some posture which seeks to concentrate more on the bureaucratic, the constitution and everything else. We think that this is a political situation which deserves a political intervention.
Now, if we look back to the times of the fees must fall, you do concede that you broke the law at the time?
I do concede that.
Do you agree that you broke the law at the time of the fees must fall protests?
I protested then, and many things happened.
Yeah.
And it's not the question of a law. It's a question to say we were demanding free education. And whatever we've done it under those conditions. For instance, there's an argument that the protest during 2016 became violent and were violent. But no one seeks to concentrate on the question of the militarization of institutions of higher learning by the state in terms of putting the police force, and by university management in terms of unleashing the private securities. Yeah. And once you push for violence, you are bound to a person who's a victim for such is bound, when the time goes by, to respond in any way.
Yeah. So you're saying that you had no option but to act the way you did at the time?
There was no option at all.
Would you change anything? I mean, if you look back to your behavior, would you change anything that you did, especially seeing the outcome?
If the police were to harass like that, it was not a question of a planned any action. It was a question of they will suffocate you. They will want to dismantle the whole struggle. And remember here what was happening on campuses. Once you are organized, you are trying to organize yourself, they come and say you can't be in groups of 5. They unleash violence. They attack people. As we speak today, they're still continuing this violence against students. In Westville today, there are women who are being beaten. I challenge you to go and look at the page of UKZN Westville. A woman was dragged down by a police officer. Nothing has happened. We're speaking today, there's no police officer who has attended a court on the violence against students. And by the way, the cases which we are facing, most of them, they're highly political. I'm going to speak with mine because I'm more familiar with. You know, I participated in a protest. When I was arrested, I had 15 accounts. They went down, I had 13 accounts on one protest. Can you imagine? In possession of the explosives, in possession of dangerous weapon. What is a dangerous weapon? Is a slingshot. Cases that charges that they don't make sense when you add them together. So I was saying, it's a political situation, and the courts were tempted to act politically in terms of clamping down the protest, and it needs a political intervention, not a bureaucratic and constitutional.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I need to ask you your next step. If, in fact, you don't have word from the president, you do not get a presidential pardon, what are your next steps? What are you going to do?
We'll stay there until we are persuaded otherwise.
You'll stay at the union buildings until you get this pardon?
Yes.
And if it doesn't happen, that I think you must have another step, or not?
I don't know, but for now, I haven't thought of anything.
You haven't thought further than that?
I must just give us that thing. We're not criminals, by the way. You know, the South African youth, they are not criminals. The youth of South Africa, they suffer from job unemployment, high unemployment. There's this emerging graduate unemployment, poverty, malnutrition. If the youth was violent, South Africa should be in ashes today. But because we're not violent, we are able to understand and be patient with issues. But we are treated as if during Fees Must Fall, we are just those criminals, and we are looked as if we are criminals. Yeah. During the Fees Must Fall, we responded to the situation which we're faced with. But generally, we are not violent. Even you are looking at me, do I look violent? I think I look like a very honorable and nice, jolly young man. I'm not a violent person. I'm very peaceful.
Yes, you do, and you are young, and you have got a bright future ahead of you. And unfortunately,
not after the conviction.
No, that's what I'm going to say. Unfortunately,
finished.
with this against you, it is going to be very, very tough. But I think what I need to know is, was there any other way? I mean, surely there could have been another way for you to have acted. And you know, I mean, some of your colleagues, for instance, Kanya, and I hope I pronounce it right, Tekesha, he is serving 5 years in prison at Leeuwkop
8 years, 2 suspended.
For torching a police fan. There are others that had public violence against them, that were behaving very, very badly. I mean, there were some that burnt down libraries, not UCT, at the University of Johannesburg. So there was a lot of action police had to take, and the law has to take its course. I need your comments on that. I need you to look back and honestly say this was the way it should have gone.
My comment is, let me say, just to make this thing simple, me and you are in a relationship, we are married. I constantly beat you up. The day you respond to those beatings, I then rush to police and open a case. They find you guilty and they say you are a criminal. Are you really a criminal, or you were forced by the conditions to respond the way you responded? We do sit here and agree that no, you are a violent person and the law must take its course. And remember, that was a political situation. During the democratic dispensation, you had Abo PW board and the clerks which were given a pardon. They never served any sentences because they said the hanging of our comrades, they acted in a political situation. Now we are in a transition from a situation whereby there is no free education to a situation whereby there is free education. And whatever we've done in a political situation. We must be pardoned, all of us, because even the government has agreed that indeed free education was a genuine call. But now it's prosecuting and purging all those who were in the forefront. I don't think that it's a fair thing. And we are not criminals. Don't look at us as criminals and say the law must take its course. This is a political situation, and he must respond to it in a political way. And the courts, by the way, they were very political when dealing with this matter. The intention by the state was to clamp down the Fees Must Fall, not for it to continue.
I know NUMSA are supporting you. EFF, are they helping you out?
Yes,
of
course.
You are a member?
Greatly, they do. They do help. They do help, yeah.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you very much for coming in. I know it's a long journey for you to get here. Bonginkosi Khanyile is camping out outside the Union buildings until he hears from President Jacob Zuma himself in person or at least by email. Oh, did I just say Jacob Zuma? Thank you for correcting me. I don't think you want to hear from President Jacob Zuma. I think we need to hear from Cyril Ramaphosa. Give this guy a pardon. He helped me out here. Anyway, so President Cyril Ramaphosa, he's waiting to hear whether or not he can get a presidential pardon or not. His sentencing is on the 16th of October.